Om Namo Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namam Vishnu padaya Krishna pristaya bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatta Edeshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so today we read the chapter 29, which is the introduction to the Rasa dance. Reborn. Okay. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that Rasa dance took place on the full moon night on the Sharat season. From the statement of previous chapters, it appears that the festival of Govardhan Puja was performed just after the dark moon night of the month of Kartik, and thereafter the ceremony of Bhratvidya was performed when the wrath of Indra was exhibited in the shape of torrents of rain and hailstorm, and Lord Krishna held up Govardhan Hill for 7 days, up until the 9th day of the moon. Thereafter, on the 10th day, the inhabitants of Vrindavan were talking amongst themselves about the wonderful activities of Krishna, and the next day, Ekadasi was observed by Nanda Maharaj. On the next day, Dvadashi, Nanda Maharaj went to take a bath in the Ganga and was arrested by the man of Varuna. Then he was released by Lord Krishna. Then Nanda Maharaj, along with the cowherd man, was shown the spiritual sky. In this way, the full moon night of Sharad season came to an end. The full moon night of Ashvina is called Sharat Purnima. It appears from the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna had to wait another year for such a moon before enjoying the rasa dance with the gopis. At the age of 7 years, he lifted Govardhan Hill. Therefore, the rasa dance took place during his 8th year. From Vedic literature, it appears that when a theatrical actor dances among many dancing girls, the group dance is called a rasa dance. When Krishna saw the full moon night of the Sharat season, he decorated himself with various seasonal flowers, especially the Mallika flowers, which are very fragrant. He remembered the gopis' prayers to goddess Katyayani, wherein they prayed for Krishna to be their husband. He thought that the full night of the Sharat season was just suitable for a nice dance, so their desire to have Krishna as their husband would then be fulfilled. The words used in this connection in the Srimad Bhagavatam are Bhagavan Api. This means that although Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, he has no desire that needs to be fulfilled because he is always full with 6 opulences. Yet, he wanted to enjoy the company of the gopis. Bhagavan Api signifies that this is not like the ordinary dancing of young boys and girls. The specific word used in the Srimad Bhagavatam is Yogamayam Upashritaha, which means that this dancing with the gopis is on the platform of Yogamaya, not Mahamaya. The dancing of young boys and girls within this material world is in the kingdom of Mahamaya. or the external energy. The rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis is on platform of Yoga Maya. The difference between the platform of Yoga Maya and Mahamaya is compared in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to the difference between gold and iron. From the viewpoint of metallurgy, gold and iron are both metals, but the quality is completely different. Similarly, although the Rasa dance and Lord Krishna's association with the gopis appear like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls, the quality is completely different. The difference is appreciated by great Vaishnavas because they can understand the difference between love of Krishna and lust. On the Mahamaya platform, dances take place on the basis of sense gratification, but when Krishna called the gopis by sounding his flute, the gopis were hurriedly rushed towards the spot of rasa dance with a transcendental desire of satisfying Krishna. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, has explained that lust means sense gratification and love also means sense gratification, but for Krishna. In other words, when activities are enacted on the platform of personal sense gratification, they are called material activities. But when they are enacted for the satisfaction of Krishna, then they are spiritual activities. On any platform of activities, the principle of sense gratification is there, but on the spiritual platform, sense gratification is for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whereas on the material platform, it is for the performer. For example, on the material platform, when a servant serves a master, he is not trying to satisfy the senses of the master, but rather his own senses. The servant would not serve the master if the payment stopped. That means that the servant engages himself in the service of the master just to satisfy his senses. On the spiritual platform, the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead serves Krishna without payment, and he continues his service in all conditions. That is the difference between Krishna consciousness and material consciousness. It appears that Krishna enjoyed the rasa dance with the gopis when he was 8 years old. At that time, many of the gopis were married because in India, especially in those days, girls were married at very early age. There are even many instances of a girl giving birth to a child at the age of 12. Under the circumstances, all the gopis who wanted to have Krishna as their husband were already married. At the same time, they continued to hope that Krishna would be their husband. Their attitude toward Krishna was that of paramour love. Therefore, the loving affairs of Krishna with the gopis is called parakya rasa. A married man or a wife who desires another wife or husband is called parakya rasa. Actually, Krishna is the husband of everyone because he is the supreme enjoyer. The gopis wanted Krishna to be their husband, but factually there was no possibility of his marrying all the gopis. But because they had the natural tendency to accept Krishna as their supreme husband, the relationship between the gopis and Krishna is called parakya rasa. This parakya rasa is ever existent in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky where there is no possibility of the inebriety which characterizes parakya rasa in the material world. In the material world, parakya rasa is abominable, whereas in the spiritual world, it is present in the super excellent relationship of Krishna and the gopis. There are many other relationships with Krishna, master and servant, friends and friend, parent and son, and lover and beloved. Out of all these rasas, the parakya rasa is considered to be the topmost. This material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. It is just like the reflection of a tree on the bank of a reservoir of water. The topmost part of the tree is seen as the lowest part. Similarly, parakya rasa, when pervertedly reflected in this material world, is abominable. When people therefore imitate the rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis, they simply enjoy the perverted, abominable reflection of the transcendental parakya rasa. There is no possibility of enjoying this transcendental parakya rasa within the material world. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that one should not imitate this parakya rasa even in dream or imagination. Those who do so drink the most deadly poison. When Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, desired to enjoy the company of the gopis on that full moon night on the Sharat season, Exactly at that very moment, the moon, the Lord of the stars, appeared in the sky, displaying its most beautiful features. The full moon night of the Sharad season is the most beautiful night in the year. In India, there is a great monument called Taj Mahal in Agra, a city in the Uttar Pradesh province. At the tomb is made and the tomb is made of first-class marble stone. During the night of the full moon of the Sharat season, many foreigners go to see the beautiful reflection of the moon on the tomb. Thus, this full moon night is celebrated even today for its beauty. When the full moon rose in the east, it tinged everything with a reddish color. With the rising of the moon, the whole sky appeared smeared by red kumkuma. When a husband long when a husband long separated from his wife returns home, he decorates the face of his wife with red kumkuma. This long expected moonrise of the Sharat season was thus mirroring the eastern sky. The appearance of the moon increased Krishna's desire to dance with the gopis. The forests were filled with fragrant flowers. The atmosphere was cooling and festive. When Lord Krishna began to blow the When Lord Krishna began to blow his flute, the gopis all over Vrindavan became enchanted. Their attraction to the vibration of the flute increased 1,000 times due to the rising full moon. The red horizon, the calm and cool atmosphere, and the blossoming flowers. All the gopis were by nature very much attracted to Krishna's beauty, and when they heard the vibration of his flute, they became apparently lustful to satisfy the senses of Krishna. Immediately upon hearing the vibration of the flute, they all left their respective engagements and proceeded to the spot where Krishna was standing. While they ran very swiftly, all their earrings swung back and forth. They all rushed toward the place known as Vamshivata. Some of them were engaged in milking cows, but they left their milking business half finished and immediately went to Krishna. One of them had just collected milk and put it in the milk pan on the oven to boil, but she did not care whether the milk overboiled and spilled. She immediately left to go see Krishna. Some of them were breastfeeding their small babies, and some were engaged in distributing food to the members of their families. But they left all such engagements and immediately rushed toward the spot where Krishna was playing his flute. Some were engaged in serving their husbands, and some were themselves engaged in eating. But neither caring to serve their husbands nor eat, they immediately left. Some of them wanted to decorate their faces with cosmetic ointments and to dress themselves very nicely before going to Krishna, but unfortunately they could not finish their cosmetic decorations nor put on their dresses in the right way because of their anxiety to meet Krishna immediately. Their faces were decorated hurriedly and very haphazardly finished. Some of even put the lower part of the dress on the upper part of their bodies and the upper part on the lower part. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anyone can continue. Also, Nityananda Prabhu, if you want to read, you can also read.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This is my obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. While all the gopis were hurriedly leaving their respective places, their husbands, brothers, and fathers were all struck with wonder to where they were going. Being young girls, they were protected either by their husbands, elderly brothers, or fathers. All their guardians forbade them to go to Krishna, but they disregarded them. When a person becomes attracted by Krishna and in and is in full Krishna consciousness, he does not care for any worldly duties, even though very urgent. Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it gives everyone relief from all material activities. Srila Rupa Goswami has written a very nice verse one gopi, within one gopi advises another. My dear friend, if you desire to enjoy the company of material society, friendship, and love, then please do not go to see the smiling boy Govinda, who is standing on the bank of the Yamuna and playing his flute, his lips brightened by the beams of the full moonlight. Srila Rupa Goswami indirectly instructs that one who has been captivated by the beautiful smiling face of Krishna has lost all attraction for material enjoyments. This is the test of advancement in Krishna consciousness. A person advancing in Krishna consciousness must lose interest in material activities and personal sense gratification. Some of the gopis were factually detained from going to Krishna by their husbands and were locked up by force within their rooms. Being unable to go to Krishna, they began to meditate upon the transcendental form by closing their eyes. They already had the form of Krishna within their minds. They proved to be the greatest yogis. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, a person who is constantly thinking of Krishna within his heart and with faith and love is considered to be the topmost of all yogis. Actually, a yogi concentrates his mind on the form of Lord Vishnu. That is real yoga. Krishna is the original form of all Vishnu tattvas. The gopis could not go to Krishna personally, so they began to meditate upon him as perfect yogis. In this, in the conditioned stage of living entities, there are two kinds of results of fruitive activities. The conditioned living entity who is constantly engaged in sinful activities has suffering as his result, and he who is engaged in pious activities has material enjoyment as a result. In either case, material suffering or material enjoyment, the enjoyer or sufferer is conditioned by material nature. The gopis, the gopi associates of Krishna who assembled in the place where Krishna is appearing are from different groups. Most of the gopis are eternal companions of Krishna. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ananda Chinmaya Rasu Pratibhav Vitavi. In the spiritual world, the associates of Krishna, especially the gopis, are the manifestation of the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. They are expansions of Srimati Radharani. But when Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes within the material world, in some of the universes, not only the eternal associates of Krishna come, but also those who are being promoted to that status from the material world. The gopis who joined Krishna's pastimes within the material world were coming from the status of ordinary human beings. If they had been bound by fruitive action, they were fully freed from the reaction of karma by constant meditation of Krishna. Their severe pain, yearnings caused by their not being able to see Krishna freed them from all sinful reactions, and their ecstasy of transcendental love for Krishna in his absence was transcendental to all their reactions of material pious activities. The conditioned soul is subjected to birth and death, either by pious or sinful activities. But the gopis who began to meditate on Krishna transcended both positions and became purified, and thus elevated to the status of the gopis already expanded by his pleasure potency. All the gopis who concentrated their minds on Krishna in the spirit of paramour love became fully uncontaminated from all the fruitive reactions of material nature. And some of them immediately gave up their material bodies, developed under the three modes of material nature. Maharaj Parikshit heard Sukadev Goswami explain the situation of the gopis who assembled with Krishna in the rasa dance. When he heard that some of the gopis, simply by concentrating on Krishna as their paramour, became freed from all contamination of material birth and death, he said, the gopis did not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They accepted him as a beautiful boy and considered him to be their paramour. So how was it possible for them to get freed from the material condition just by thinking of a paramour? One should
one should consider here that Krishna and ordinary living beings are qualitatively one. The ordinary living beings, being part and parcel of Krishna, are also Brahman. But Krishna is the supreme Parabrahman. The question is, if it is possible for the devotee to get free from the material contaminated stage simply by thinking of Krishna, then why not others who are also thinking of someone? If one is thinking of a husband or son, or if anyone at all is thinking of another living entity, since all living entities are also Brahman, then why are they not all freed from the contaminated stage of material nature? This is a very intelligent question because the atheists are always imitating Krishna. In these days of Kali Yuga, there are many rascals who think themselves to be as great as Krishna, and who cheat people into believing that thinking of them is as good as thinking of Lord Krishna. Parikshit Maharaja apprehended the dangerous condition of blind followers of demonic imitators, therefore asked this question, and fortunately it was recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam to warn innocent people that thinking of an ordinary man and thinking of Krishna are not the same. Actually, even thinking of the demigods cannot compare with thinking of Krishna. It is also warned in Vaishnava Tantra that one who puts Vishnu, Narayan, or Krishna on the same level of the demigods called Pasandana, or a rascal. On hearing this question of Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadev Goswami replied, "My dear king, your question is already answered even before this incident." Because Parikshit Maharaj wanted to clear up the situation, his spiritual master answered him very intelligently. "Why are you again asking me the same subject matter which has already been explained to you? Why are you so forgetful? A spiritual master is always in the superior position, so he has the right to chastise his disciple in this way." Sukadev Goswami knew that Maharaj Parikshit asked the question not for his own understanding, but as a warning to the future innocent people who might think others to be equal to Krishna. Sukadev Goswami, Sukadev Goswami then reminded Parikshit Maharaj about the salvation of Shishupal. Shishupal was always envious of Krishna and because of his envy, Krishna killed him. Since Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Shishupal gained salvation simply by seeing Krishna. If an envious person can get salvation simply by concentrating his mind on Krishna, then what to speak of the gopis who are so dear to Krishna and always thinking of him in love? There must be some difference between the enemies and the friends. If Krishna's enemies could get freed from material contamination and become one with the Supreme, then certainly his dear friends like the gopis are freed and with him. That's the Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Besides that, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is called Rishikesha. Shukadeva Goswami also said that Krishna is Rishikesha, the super soul, whereas an ordinary man is a conditioned soul covered by the material body. Krishna and Krishna's body are the same because he is Rishikesha. Any person making a distinction between Krishna and Krishna's body is a fool number one. Krishna is Rishikesha and Adokshaja. These two particular words have been used by Parikshit Maharaj in this instance. Rishikesha is the super soul and Adokshaja is the supreme person of Godhead, transcendental to the material nature. Just to show favor to the ordinary living entities, out of his causeless mercy, he appears as he is. Unfortunately, foolish persons mistake him to be another ordinary person, and so they become eligible to go to hell. Shukadeva Goswami reconfirmed this, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, imperishable, immeasurable, and free from all material contamination. Shukadeva Goswami continued to inform Maharaj Parikshit that Krishna is not an ordinary person. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, full of all spiritual qualities. He appears in this material world out of his causeless mercy, and whenever he appears as he is, without change. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. There the Lord says that he appears in his spiritual potency. He does not appear under the control of this material potency. The material potency is under his control. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the material potency is working under his superintendence. It is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that the material potency is known as Durga, is acting just as shadow which moves within the movement of the substance. The conclusion is that if one somehow or other becomes attached to Krishna or attracted to him, either because of his beauty, quality, opulence, fame, strength, renunciation, or knowledge, or even through lust, anger, or fear, or affection, or friendship, then one's salvation and freedom from material contamination is assured. In the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, the Lord also states that one who is engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. A preacher has to face many difficulties in the struggle to preach pure Krishna consciousness. Sometimes he has to suffer bodily injuries, and sometimes he has to meet death also. All this is taken as a great austerity on behalf of Krishna. Krishna therefore has said that such a preacher is very, very dear to him. If Krishna's enemies can accept salvation simply by concentrating their minds on him, then what to speak of persons who are so dear to Krishna? The conclusion should be that the salvation of those who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness in the world is guaranteed in all circumstances. But such preachers never care for salvation, because factually one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness devotional service has already achieved salvation. Shukadeva Goswami therefore assured King Parikshit that he should always rest assured that one attracted by Krishna attains liberation from material bondage because Krishna is the transcendental master of all mystic power. When all the gopis assembled, as described, before Krishna, he began to speak to them, welcoming them as well as discouraging them by word jugglery. Krishna is the supreme speaker. He is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. He can speak on the highest elevated subjects of philosophy, politics, economics, everything. And he also spoke before the gopis, who were so dear to him. He wanted to enchant them by word jugglery, and thus he began to speak as follows. O ladies of Vrindavan, Krishna said, you are very fortunate and you are very dear to me. I am very pleased that you have come here, and I hope everything is well in Vrindavan. Now please order me. What can I do for you? What is the purpose of coming here in this dead of night? Kindly take your seats and let me know what I can do for you. The gopis had come to Krishna to enjoy his company, to dance with him, embrace him and kiss him. And when Krishna began to receive them very officially, showing all kinds of etiquette, they were surprised. He was treating them as ordinary society women. Therefore they began to smile among themselves, and they very eagerly listened to Krishna talk in that way. When he saw that they were smiling at him, he said, my dear friends, you must know now that it is the dead of night and the forest is very dangerous. At this time, all the ferocious jungle animals, the tigers, bears, jackals, and wolves are prowling in the forest. Therefore, it is very dangerous for you. You cannot select a secure place now. Everywhere you go, you will find that all these animals are loitering to find their prey. I think, therefore, that you are taking a great risk in coming here in the dead of night. Please turn back immediately without delay. When he saw that they continued to smile, he said, I very much appreciate your bodily features. All of you have a nice, very thin waist. All of the gopis there were exquisitely beautiful. They are described by the word sumadhyama. The standard of beauty of woman is said to be sumadhyama when the middle portion of the body is slender. Krishna wanted to impress on them that they were not old enough to take care of themselves. Actually, they required protection. It was not very wise for them to come in the dead of night to Krishna. Krishna also indicated that he was young and that they were young girls. It does not look very well for young girls and boys to remain together in the dead of night. After hearing this advice, the gopis did not seem very happy. Therefore, Krishna began to stress the point in a different way. My dear friends, I can understand that you have left your homes without the permission of your guardians. Therefore, I think your mothers, your fathers, your elderly brothers, or even your sons, and what to speak of your husbands, must be very anxious to find you. As long as you are here, they must be searching in different places and their mind must be very agitated. Don't be tarry. Please go back and make them peaceful. When the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and angry from the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. At that time, the whole forest was illuminated by the bright shining of the moon, and the air was blowing very silently over the blooming flowers, and the green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. Krishna took the opportunity of their looking at the forest to advise them. I think you have to come out to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night. I think you have come out to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night, he said. But you must now be satisfied, so return to your homes without delay. Understand that you are all very chaste women, so now that you have seen the beautiful atmosphere of the Vrindavan forest, please return home and engage in the faithful service of your respective husbands. Some of you must have babies by this time. Although you are very young, you must have left your small babies at home and they must be crying. Please immediately go back and just feed them with your breast milk. I can also understand that you have very great affection for me, and out of that transcendental affection you have come here hearing my playing on the flute. Your feelings of love and affection for me are very appropriate because I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are affectionate to me. So this affection for me is very much welcome, and I congratulate you for this. Now you can go back to your homes. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to the husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. A woman should be not only faithful and chaste to the husband, but affectionate to the friends of her husband, obedient to the father and mother of the husband, and affectionate to the younger brothers of the husband. And most importantly, the woman must take care of the children. In this way, Krishna explained the duty of a woman. He also, he also stressed the point of serving the husband. Even if he's not a very good character, or even if he's not very rich or fortunate, or even he's old or invalid on account of continued disease, whatever her husband's condition, a woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be elevated to the higher planetary systems after leaving this body. Besides that, it is considered abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and goes searching for another man. Such habits will deter a woman from being elevated to the heavenly planets, and the results of such habits are very degrading. A married woman should not search for a paramour, for this is not sanctioned by the Vedic principles of life. If you think that you are very much attached to me and you want my association, I advise you not to personally try to enjoy me. It is better for you to go home, simply talk about me, think of me, and by this process of constantly remembering me and chanting my names, you will surely be elevated to the spiritual platform. There is no need to stand near me. Please go back home.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam.
Can I continue?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you.
Hivo.
This instruction given herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the gopis was not at all sarcastic. Such instruction Such instructions should be taken very seriously by honest women. The chastity of the woman is specifically stressed herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this principle should be followed by any serious woman who want to be elevated to a higher status of life. Krishna is in Krishna is the center of all affection for all living creatures. When this affection is developed for Krishna, then one surpassed and transcended all Vedic injections. This was possible for the gopis because they saw Krishna face to face. This is not possible for any woman in the conditioned state. Unfortunately, by imitating the behavior of Krishna with the gopis, sometimes a rascal takes the position of Krishna, following the philosophy of monism or oneness, and he very irresponsibly take advantage of this Rasa Leela to entice many innocent women and mislead them in the name of spiritual realization. As a warning, Lord Krishna herein hinted that what was possible for the gopis is not possible for ordinary women. Although a woman can actually be elevated by advanced Krishna consciousness, she should not be enticed by an impostor who says that he is Krishna. She should concentrate her devotional activities in chanting and meditating upon Krishna. As, as is advised herein, one should not follow the man called Sahaja, the so-called devotee who takes everything very lightly. When Krishna spoke in such a discouraging way to gopis, the Krishna they become very sad, for they thought that their desire to enjoy rasa dance with Krishna would be frustrated. Thus, they become full of anxiety. Out of great sadness, the gopis began to the breath very heavily. Instead of looking at Krishna's face to face, they bowed their head and looked to the ground, and they began to draw various types of curved lines on the ground with their toes. They were shedding heavy tears, and their cosmetic decoration were being washed from their faces. The water from their eyes mixed with the kumkuma of their breast and fell to the ground. They could not say anything to Krishna but simply stood here silently. By their silence, they expressed that their heart were grievously wounded. The gopis were not ordinary women. In essence, they were on the equal level with the Krishna. They, they are his eternal associate, as it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. They are expansion of pleasure potency of Krishna, and his potency are non-different from his. Although they were depressed by the word of Krishna, they did not like to use harsh word against him. Yet they wanted to rebuke Krishna for his unkind word, and therefore they began to speak in the flattering, faltering voices. They did not like to use harsh word against the Krishna because he was their dearmost, their heart and soul. The gopis had had only Krishna within their hearts. They were completely surrounded and dedicated soul. Naturally, when they heard such unkind word, they tried to reply, but in the attempt, torrent of the tears fell from their eyes. Finally, they managed to speak. Krishna, they said, you are very cruel. You should not talk like that. We are full-fledged, surrendered soul. Please accept us and don't talk in the cruel way. Of course, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. And you can do whatever you like, but it is not worthy of your position to treat us in such a cruel way. We have come to you leaving everything behind just to take shelter of your lotus feet. You can, you know, that you are completely independent and you do whatever you like. We know that you are completely independent and can do whatever you like. But we request you don't reject us. We are your devotee. You should accept us as Lord Narayana accept his devotee. Narayana accept his devotee. There are many devotees of Lord Narayana who worship him for the salvation and he awards them salvation. Salvation. Similarly, how you can reject us when we have no other shelter than your lotus feet? Oh dear Krishna, they continued, you are the supreme instructor. There is no doubt about it. Your instruction to women is to be faithful to their husband and to be merciful to their children, to take care of a homely affair, to be obedient to the elderly member of the family, surely just according to the tenet of the Shastras. But we know also that all these instructions of Shastras may be observed perfectly by keeping oneself under the protection of your lotus feet. Our husband, friends, family members, and children are all dear and pleasing to us only because of your presence. For you are the supreme of all living creation. Without your presence, one is worthless. leave the body immediately dies. When you leave the body immediately dies. And according to the injection of the Shastra, a dead body must immediately be thrown in the river or burned. Therefore, ultimately, you are the dearmost personality in the world. By placing our faith and love in your personality, there is no chance for your being bereft of a husband, friends, sons, and daughter. If a woman accepts you as a supreme husband, then she will never be bereft of her husband. As in the bodily concept of life, if we accept you as our ultimate husband, then there is no question of being separated, divorced, or widowed. You are the eternal husband, eternal son, eternal friend, and eternal master, and one who enter into the relationship with you is eternally happy. Since you are the teacher of all religious principles, your lotus feet first have to worshipped according to Shastra's state. Acharya Upasana, the worship of your lotus feet. Acharya Upasana, the worship of your lotus feet is first principle. Beside that, stated in Bhagavad Gita, you are the only enjoyer, you are the only proprietor, and you are only friend. Such as such, we have come to you, having aside all so-called friends, society, and love, and you know you have come our enjoyer. Let us be everlasting enjoyed by you. Be our proprietor, for that is your natural claim, and be our supreme friend, for you for you are naturally so. Let us thus embrace you as the supreme beloved. Then the gopis told the lotus eye of Krishna, please do not discourage our long cherished desire to you as our husband. Any intelligent man who care for his own self-interest responds all his loving spirit in you, person who are simply misled by the external energy, who want to be satisfied by false concept, try to enjoy themselves apart from you. The so-called husband, friend, son, daughter, or father and mother are all simply source of material misery. No one is made happy in material world by having so-called father, mother, husband, son, daughter, friend. Although the father and mother are expected to protect the children, there are many children who are suffering for the want of the food and shelter. There are many good physicians, but when a patient die, no more physician can revive revive him. There are many means of protection, but when one is doomed, none of the protective measure can help. And without your protection, the so-called sources of protection simply become sources of continued distress. We therefore appeal to you, dear Lord of all lords, please do not kill our long cherished desire to have you as our supreme husband. Dear Krishna, as women, we are certainly satisfied when our heart are engaged in the activities of family's affair, but our heart have already been stolen by you. You can no longer engage them in the family affair. Beside you are asking us repeatedly to return home, and that is a very appropriate instruction. But unfortunately, we have been stunned here. Our leg have no power to move a step from your lotus feet. Therefore, if even at your request we return home, what shall what shall we do there? We have lost all our capacity to act without you. Instead of engaging our heart in family affair as women, we have now developed a different type of lust, which is continuously blazing in our heart. Now we request you, dear Krishna, to extinguish, exi- exi- Prabhu, can you please, yes, exi-
Extinguish.
extinguish that fire with your beautiful smile and the transcendental vibration emanating from your lips. If you do not agree to do us this favor, we will certainly be burnt in the fire of separation. In that condition, we shall simply think of you and your beautiful feature and give up our bodies immediately. In that way, we think it will be possible for us to reside in your lotus feet in next life. Dear Krishna, if you say that if we go home, our respective husband will satisfy the lusty flame of our desire, we can only say that that is will satisfy lusty desire. We can no longer possible. If you given us the chance to enjoy by you in the forest and have touched our breast one wrong. Yes, 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 which we accept as blessing, as did the sense we have tasted this transcendental enjoyment. We are no longer interested in doing to anyone but you for satisfaction of our last. Dear Krishna, the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune are always worshipped by the demigods, although the sea is resting on your chest in the Krishna appeared on the scene and touched the serpent with his lotus feet. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Which lila is this?
So, Prabhu, please be continue because I have to take prasadam and I have to join Mayapur orientation.
Here is
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu. You can continue if you can.
Prabhu, I have to leave because
Okay.
I have Mayapur orientation class.
Okay, Prabhu, I'll continue. Haribol.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Go.
Thank you.
Vaikuntha planet. She underwent great austerity and penance to have some shelter at your lotus feet, which are always covered by tulasi leaves. Your lotus feet are the proper shelter of your servitors and the goddess of fortune. Instead of abiding on your chest, comes down and worships your lotus feet. We have now placed ourselves under the dust of your feet. Please do not reject us, for we are fully surrendered souls. Dear Krishna, you are known as Hari. You destroy all the miseries of all living entities, specifically of those who are left their homes and family attachment and have completely taken to you. We have left our homes with the hope that we shall completely devote and dedicate our lives to your service. We are simply begging to be engaged as your servants. We do not wish to ask you to accept us as your wives. Simply accept as your maid servants. Since you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and like to enjoy the Parakya Rasa and are famous as a transcendental woman hunter, we have come to satisfy your transcendental desires. We are also after our own satisfaction, for simply by looking at your smiling face, we have become very lusty. We have come before you decorated with all ornaments and dress, but until you embrace us, all our dresses and beautiful features remain incomplete. You are the Supreme Person, and if you complete our dressing attempt as the Purusha Bhusana, or the male ornament, then all our desires and bodily decorations are complete. Dear Krishna, we have simply been captivated by seeing you with tilak and with earrings, and by seeing your beautiful face covered with scattered hair and your extraordinary smile. Not only that, but we are also attracted by your arms, which always give assurance to the surrendered souls. And although we are also attracted by your chest, which is always embraced by the goddess of fortune, we do not wish to take her position. We shall simply be satisfied by being your maid servants. If you, however, accuse us of encouraging prostitution, then we can only ask where is that woman within these three worlds who is not captivated by your beauty, and rhythmic songs vibrated by your transcendental flutes. Within these three worlds, there is no distinction between men and women in relation to you, because both men and women belong to the marginal potency of Prakriti. No one is actually the enjoyer or the male. Everyone is meant to be enjoyed by you. There is no woman within these three worlds who cannot but deviate from her path of chastity once she is attracted to you, because your beauty is so sublime that not only men and women, but cows, birds, beasts, and even trees, fruits, and flowers, everyone and everything, become enchanted, and what to speak of ourselves. It is, however, definitely decided that as Lord Vishnu is always protecting the demigods from the onslaught of demons, so you have also advented in Vrindavan just to give the residents protection from all kinds of distress. O dear friend of the distressed, kindly place your hand on our burning breasts as well as on our heads, because we have surrendered unto you as your eternal maidservants. If you think, however, that your lotus-like palms might be burned to ashes if placed on our burning breasts, let us assure you that your palms will feel pleasure instead of pain, as the lotus flower, although very delicate and soft, enjoys the scorching heat of the sun. Upon hearing the anxious Upon hearing the anxious plea of the gopis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead began to smile, and being very kind to the gopis, the Lord, although self-sufficient, began to embrace them and kiss them as they desired. When Krishna, smiling, looking at the faces of the gopis, the beauty of their faces became 100 times enhanced. When he was enjoying them in their midst, he appeared just like the full moon surrounded by millions of shining stars. Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrounded by hundreds of gopis and decorated with a flower garland of many colors, began to wander within the Vrindavan forest, sometimes singing to himself and sometimes singing with the gopis. In this way, both the Lord and the gopis reached the cool sandy bank of the Yamuna, where there were lilies and lotus flowers. In such a transcendental atmosphere, both the gopis and Krishna began to enjoy one another. While they were walking on the bank of the Yamuna, Krishna would sometimes put his arms around the gopi's head, breast, or waist, pinching one another and joking and looking at one another they enjoyed. When Krishna touched the bodies of the gopis, their lust to embrace him increased. They all enjoyed these pastimes. Thus the gopis were blessed with all mercy by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they enjoyed his company without a tinge of mundane sex life. The gopis, however, soon began to feel very proud, thinking themselves to be most fortunate women in the universe by being favored by the company of Krishna. Lord Krishna, who is known as Keshava, could immediately understand their pride, because by their great fortune of enjoying him personally, and in order to show them his causeless mercy and to curb their false pride, he immediately disappeared from the scene, exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always full with six kinds of opulence, and this is an instance of the opulence of renunciation. This renunciation confirms Krishna's total non-attachment. He is always self-sufficient and is not dependent on anything. This is the platform on which the transcendental pastimes are enacted. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 29th chapter of Krishna, the Rasa Dance, Introduction. Haribol.
Right, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Yes, this is really nice chapter. Haribol.
That was a very nice chapter. Actually, Krishna left because of Radharani.
Yes, Prabhu.
Radharani disappeared. And so the thing is that Radharani, the Rasa dance happened because Srimati Radharani wanted everyone to enjoy the company of Krishna. And then Radharani felt that these gopis are becoming proudful, their pride
Yes.
of the same reason. So she left, and then Krishna followed her.
Yeah.
It is amazing, yeah. That Krishna leaves everyone just for one Radha, for
Yes.
one gopi. And this is very,
Yeah, next one is Krishna hiding.
yeah, this is the very amazing one. This is where Krishna hides from the gopis, and then the gopis, this is like the nectar where Krishna, where this the Govinda Gita is actually, oh, sorry, Gopi Gita, where they start singing. But this is a very beautiful chapter.
Yes, Prabhu. We can also read this one because it's a short one. It's like
Yeah, we can do it.
Yes, Prabhu. You can start.
I'll need to read first, okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna hiding from the gopis. Okay. When Krishna suddenly disappeared from the company of the gopis, they began to search for him in every place. After not finding him anywhere, they became afraid and almost mad after him. They were simply thinking of the pastimes of Krishna in the great love and affection. Being absorbed in thought, they experienced loss of memory, and with dampened eyes, they began to see the very pastimes of Krishna. His beautiful talks with them, his embracing, kissing, and other activities. Being so attracted to Krishna, they began to imitate his dancing, his walking, and smiling, as if they themselves were Krishna. Due to Krishna's absence, they all became crazy. Each one of them began to tell the others that she was Krishna himself. Soon they all began to assemble together and chant Krishna's name very loudly. And they moved from one part of the forest to another, searching for him. Actually, Krishna is all pervasive. He is in the sky, and he is in the forest. He is within the heart, and he is also, and he's always everywhere. The gopis therefore began to question the trees and the plants about Krishna. There were various types of big trees and dear banyan tree. Have you seen the son of Maharaj Nanda passing this way, laughing and playing on his flute? You have stolen our hearts, and he has gone away. If you have seen him, kindly inform us which way he has gone. Dear Soka tree, did Naga flower tree and Champaka flower tree, have you seen the younger brother of Balarama pass this way? He has disappeared because of our pride. The gopis were aware of the reason of Krishna's sudden disappearance. They could understand that when they were enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate woman within the universe. And since they were feeling proud, Krishna disappeared immediately just to curb their pride. Krishna does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. He accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to be prouder than others. If someone they if sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude towards the devotee. The gopis then began to address the tulsi plants. Dear Tulasi, you are much beloved by Lord Krishna because your leaves are always at his lotus feet. Dear Malati flower, dear Malitika flower, dear jasmine flower, all of you must have been touched by Krishna while he was passing this way after giving us transcendental enjoyment. Have you seen Madhava passing this way? Oh, mango trees, oh, tree of jackfruit, oh, trees of jackfruit, oh, pear trees and asana trees, oh, blackberries and bale trees and trees of kadamba flowers. You are all very pious trees to be living on the bank of Yamuna. Krishna must have passed through this way. Will you kindly let us know which way he has gone? The gopis then looked upon the ground and and were traversing and began to address the earth. Dear earthly planet, where do we do not know how much penances and austerities you have undergone to be now living with the footprints of Lord Krishna upon you. You are very jolly. The hairs of your body are the jubilant trees and plants. Lord Krishna must have been very much pleased with you. Otherwise, how could he have embraced you in the form of Varaha the boar? When you were submerged in water, he delivered you, taking the whole weight of your existence on his tusks. After addressing the innumerable trees and plants, they turned their faces towards the beautiful deer who were looking on them very pleasingly. It appears they addressed the deer that Krishna, who is the supreme Narayan himself, must have passed through this way along with his companion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Otherwise, how is it possible that the aroma of his garland, which is smeared with the red kumkum from the breast of the goddess of fortune, can be perceived in the breeze blowing here? It appears that they must have passed through here and touched your bodies, and thus you are feeling so pleasant and are looking towards us with sympathy. Will you kindly, therefore, inform us which way Krishna has gone? Krishna is the well-wisher of Vrindavana. He is as kind to you as to us. Therefore, after leaving us, he must have been present in your company. O fortunate trees, we are thinking of Krishna, the younger brother of Balaram, while passing through here with one hand resting on his shoulder of the goddess of fortune and the other hand whirling a lotus flower. He must have been very pleased to accept your obeisances, and he must have glanced at you with great pleasure. Some of the gopis then began to address their other gopi friends. Dear friends, why don't you question these creepers who are so jubilantly embracing the big trees as if the trees were their husbands? It appears that the flowers of the creepers must have been touched by the nails of Krishna. Otherwise, how could they feel so jubilant? After searching for Krishna here and there, when the gopis became fatigued, they began to talk like madwomen. They could only satisfy themselves by imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. One of them imitated a demon, Putna, and one of them imitated Krishna and sucked her breast. The gopis imitated a hand-driven cart. The other gopis lay down beneath the cart and began to throw up her legs, touching the wheels of the cart, as Krishna did to kill the demon Sakustara, Sakata, Sakat Asura. They imitated child Krishna laying down on the ground, and one gopi became the demon Trinivarta and carried the small child Krishna by force into the sky. And one of the gopis began to imitate Krishna while he was attempting to walk, ringing his ankle bells. Two gopis imitated Krishna and Balaram, and many others imitated their coward boyfriends. One gopi assumed the form of Bakasura, and another forced her to fall down as the demon Bakasura did when he was killed. Similarly, another gopi defeated Patrasura. Just as Krishna used to call his cows by their different names, so the gopis imitated him, calling the cows by their respective names. One of the gopis began to play on a flute, and the other praised her the way Krishna's boyfriends praised him while he played on his flute. One of the gopis took another gopi on the shoulders, just as Krishna used to take his boyfriends. Absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, the gopis who was carrying her friend began to boast that she was Krishna herself. All of you, just see my movement. One of the gopis raised her hand and her covering garments and said, "Now, don't be afraid of torrents of rain and severe hurricanes. I'll save you." In the same way, she imitated the lifting of Govardhan Hill. One gopi forcefully put her feet on the head of another gopi and said, "You rascal Kalia, I shall punish you severely. You must leave this place. I have descended on the earth to punish all kinds of miscreants." Another gopi told her friends, "Just see, the flames of the forest fire are coming to devour us. Please close your eyes and I shall immediately save you from the imminent danger." In this way, all the gopis were madly feeling absence of Krishna. They inquired for him from the trees and plants. In some places, they found the imprints of the marks of the soles of his feet, namely the flag, the lotus flower, the trident, the thunderbolt, etc. After seeing those footprints, they exclaimed, "Oh, here is the impression of the marks of the soul of Krishna." All the marks, such as the flag, lotus flower, the trident, and the thunderbolt, are distinctly visible here. They began to follow the footprints, and shortly they saw another set of footprints beside them, and immediately they became very sorry. Dear friends, just see whose are these footprints? They are beside the footprints of the son of Maharaj Nanda. It is certainly Krishna passing through, resting his hand on some other gopi, exactly as the elephant goes side by side with his beloved mate. We must therefore understand that the particular gopi served Krishna, that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affection, love than ourselves. Because of this, although he has left us, he could not leave her company. He has taken her along with him, dear friends. Just imagine how the dust of this place is transcendently glorious. The dust of the lotus feet of Krishna is worshipped even by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. But at the same time, we are very sorry that this particular gopi has gone along with Krishna, for she is sharing the nectar of Krishna's kisses and leaving us aside to lament. Oh, friends, just see. Just see. At this particular spot, we do not see the footprints. We do not. At this particular spot, we do not see the footprints of the gopi. It appears that because there were some pinpricks from the dried grass, Krishna took Radharani on his shoulder. Oh, she is so dear to him. Krishna must have picked some flowers in the spot to satisfy Radharani, because here, where he stood erect to get the flowers from the high branches of the tree, we find only half the impressions of the feet. Dear friends, just see how Krishna must have sat down here with Radharani and tried to set flowers in her hair. You can be certain that both of them sat together here. Krishna is self-sufficient. He has nothing to enjoy from any other source. Yet, just to satisfy his devotee, he has treated Radharani exactly as a lusty boy treats his girlfriend. Krishna is so kind that he always tolerates the disturbances created by his girlfriends. In this way, all the gopis began to point out the faults of the particular gopi who had been taken along by Krishna. They began to say that the chief gopi, Radharani, who was taken alone by Krishna, must be very proud of her position, thinking herself the greatest of the gopis. Yet how could Krishna take her away alone, leaving all of us aside, unless she be extraordinarily qualified and beautiful? She must have taken Krishna in the deep forest and told him, "My dear Krishna, I am now very tired. I cannot go any further. Please carry me wherever you like." When Krishna was spoken to in this way, he might have told Radharani, "All right, better get up on my shoulder." But immediately Krishna must have disappeared, and now Radharani must be lamenting for him. "My dear lover, my dearest, you are so fine and so powerful. Where have you gone? I am nothing but your most obedient maidservant. I am very much aggrieved. Please come and be with me again." Krishna, however, is not coming to her. He must have been watching her from a distant place and enjoying her sorrow. Okay, bro, you can continue. This is amazing.
Hare Krishna. All the gopis then went further and further into the forest, searching out Krishna. But when they learned that actually Radharani was left alone by Krishna, they became very sorry. This is the test of Krishna consciousness. In the beginning, they were a little envious that Krishna had taken Radharani alone, leaving aside all other gopis. But as soon as they knew that Krishna had also left Radharani and that she was alone lamenting for him, they became more sympathetic to her. The gopis found Radharani and heard everything from her about how she misbehaved with Krishna and how she was proud and was insulted for her pride. After hearing all this, they became actually very sympathetic. Then all the gopis, including Radharani, began to proceed further into the forest until they could no longer see the moonlight. When they saw that it was getting gradually darker, they stopped. Their mind and intelligence became absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. They all imitated the activities of Krishna and his speeches. Due to their heart and soul being completely given to Krishna, they began to chant his glories, completely forgetting their family interests. In this way, all the gopis assembled together on the bank of Yamuna, and expecting that Krishna must return to them, they simply engaged in the chanting of the glories of Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 30th chapter of Krishna, Krishna's hiding from the gopis. Haribol.
Oh,
Yes, this was really
that's
amazing.
amazing.
Haribol.
That's amazing. So so Krishna left everyone for Radharani, and then they know. So there's different sakis. There's a left wing and the right wing gopis. There's different gopis. So
Yes,
Radharani's gopis, when they saw the footprints, because I mean they know their saki, they know Radharani's footprints.
yes, bro.
So when they saw it was their group, their saki, they were so happy that out of all, because they have different groups and they always have competition.
Yes,
But when they saw it was their saki, that it was Radharani, they were so pleased as well. They were happy. I mean, this is the importance of us. Like also know, I was speaking about the footprints the other day. It's amazing that
yes,
they walk like this in Raja.
yes, they did proper investigation. They knew that, oh, here,
Yeah.
what happened.
And then they were asking the trees and the creepers and everything, and yeah, they're going mad. I mean, like, and then they saw this one I heard, like, when we were discussing with the devotees last time. Every time I read this, is like fresh and it gets so fresh. It's
Yes,
beautiful. Like, last time we were discussing, and we said that Radharani was, when the gopis were looking for Radharani and Krishna, and then they came past the Tulsi flowers. Tulsi Devi, she has manjaris, these white flowers at the end, on the stems, at the top.
yes, Prabhu.
So it was like Tulsi Devi was smiling and showing her teeth. Those white manjaris were like the teeth of
Yeah,
Tulsi smiling to say, oh, wow, you see, like Krishna's past here, but she's so stunned that she can't speak. And then the gopis were fighting with Tulsi Devi, like, where is he? Is he?
yes, Prabhu.
Please tell us, oh dear Tulsi. That's so amazing how
Yes.
these
And
people.
also when they started to imitate all the pastimes, that was funny.
Imagine Srila Prabhupada is giving this directly. Like Srila Prabhupada is there. Srila Prabhupada is there because where did this come from?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, it's like unbelievable. So much detail.
Yes, one was imitating Kalia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kalia.
Yeah, they played all the games.
Yes, this always hearing this, it comes so clearly in the mind, the picture of this.
Yeah, you can see the pastime.
Yeah.
You can see them imitating. And then the actual description where Krishna lifted his feet and they only saw half the footprints, they knew that he was plucking the flowers from the top. Like that is detail. Like that is so much of detail.
Yes,
You
Prabhu.
have to notice that. And like only half the footprints, and then they're walking in and they saw another girl's footprints next day and he was leaning his shoulder on her. It's a lot of detail.
Yes, Prabhu. Immediately they knew, oh, this happened.
Yeah. They knew it was Radharani. And then Krishna, oh yeah, so then when Krishna left Radharani at that moment, because Krishna heard the gopis. So the thing that we discussed last time and that we were discussing, it was like, okay, so Radharani and Krishna were together. And then as soon as Krishna heard the gopis coming, Radha and Krishna heard the gopis coming, Radharani told Krishna, okay, like, please carry me wherever you like, but she's tired. Radharani wanted to be with Krishna, but at the same time, she didn't want to leave her Sakis behind. She didn't want to leave her gopis behind. So she said to Krishna, please carry me wherever you want. And Krishna, you didn't want to be seen with Radharani only because then they might feel envious or whatever. So then that's why he escaped. And he said, okay, fine, come on my shoulders. And when she tried, or she closed the eyes or whatever, and then he ran behind the bush, behind the forest, behind the trees, close by. And that's when the gopis come. And then Radharani starts crying, like just when Gopi did it, Radharani starts to cry for Krishna. And then, oh, it's just amazing.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, they became, first they were like a little bit like kind of jealous that
Yes.
Radharani, and then they became sympathetic when they saw that oh, same thing happened.
Yeah.
He was also like,
Yeah, they became sympathetic. Oh, we also about how much more so tormented she must be.
yeah,
Radharani must, you know, must be. It's
the
amazing.
gopis found Radharani and heard everything from her about how she misbehaved with Krishna, how she was proud and was insulted for her pride. The same things that the gopis were themselves thinking.
Yeah. There's an amazing picture. Ayana Prabhu put a picture on his book. I'll share it with you of rather of the same person where they're hiding, with Krishna's hiding. But the gopis is actually playing. But it's like I have the book. It's where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well. It's like it's a beautiful image. I'll send it to you.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Give
Yeah, yeah. This is a beautiful pastime. So interesting what happens after this. But you'll read that tomorrow, I think.
Yes,
But
Prabhu.
it's
Yeah, this next, all these, like five, these are amazing chapters.
oh yeah, here's the song of the gopis. Yeah, we have to do this one. This is Gopi Gita. This is a beautiful. So in our line in the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we have Vipralamba Bhav, which is different from all others, because the love and separation, because the deeper
Yeah.
separation where we can experience the Lord even more intensely when He is not around, when He's not physically present.
Yes, Prabhu.
It's so amazing. This is how they go mad after Krishna and start
Yeah.
remembering all his pastimes. Wow. They praised Mother Earth, they praised the deer, they praised every living. The gopis were feeling that everyone else is higher than them but themselves.
Yeah.
That's a true Vaishnava.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, they were saying about the footprints on the earth, how the planet Earth is so fortunate.
And
And
also the lesson I learned is like the pride. Like, sometimes you think, okay, yeah, I've done my rounds, I'm doing all this. But then, and then you get this, and then Krishna immediately he checks you. It's like
yeah,
you think you're clever, you think that you think that you know what you, boom, he'll teach you a lesson. Krishna teaches me
yeah,
like that. So
yeah, it was said Krishna changes the relationship then
yeah,
the person.
then when you chanting, when I'm chanting, when you're doing some devotional service, it's not the same. It's like, what am I doing? Why am I doing that?
Yeah,
And that's the thing. Like, the subtle thing about pride, that it's like name, fame, woman, and wealth. Those four things. Like after like the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness is okay. Yes, we have to stop no meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. But then when we start doing all of that perfectly, and we chanting our rounds, we're doing all our sadhana, but then, and I see most devotees like this, and I just see generally, the fall down is very subtle. That
yeah,
name, fame, woman, and wealth, and pride is one of those. It falls
yeah,
in
yes, Prabhu.
falls in the category. It's very something that we should be aware of. Like look at even the gopis had that. If they so exalted,
Yeah, yeah,
who am I? So you have to think like that. You have to always be careful that when we enjoy in Krishna consciousness, you mustn't feel proud.
yes, Prabhu. Yeah, this is nice. This they could understand that when they were enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate woman within the universe, and if they were feeling proud, Krishna disappeared immediately just to curb their pride. Krishna does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. He accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to be prouder than others. And
Yeah,
this one is that if sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude toward the devotee.
exactly.
Yes,
That's
Prabhu.
why we should always remain humble,
Yes, Rama.
Yes,
like
Prabhu.
sincerely, like it's But the thing is, like, okay, this is a question because if we enjoy, right, and one should feel special, like, wow, like Krishna is everyone is special to Krishna, and everyone should feel that Krishna is treating them specially. With Krishna is special, you have a special relationship with Krishna,
Yes, Prabhu.
But then it's a fine line of that pride that gets, it's like where do we draw that line? It's like, okay, I'm so happy that I've got, Krishna's giving me kripa, and okay, but
Yeah.
if you can't express it so much because if you express it, then it might come across as prideful as well.
Yes,
So
Prabhu.
it's like a fine line. I like the description of all the trees that Prabhupada gave, the champaka flowers,
Yeah.
jasmine flowers.
That was nice. I could
Yeah,
actually see the creepers.
they were really jubilantly embracing the big trees.
Yeah. I mean, I could picture it, the like the vines of the beautiful trees wrapping around the big trees, like those creepers. I could
Yeah.
picture it. I remember we were looking at those pictures the other day, and we saw that the flowers wrapping around the tree. I pictured that.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really jubilant. Yeah, I can imagine the flowers like
Mhm.
become like fully opened, and they're like
Yeah.
they're laughing.
Yeah, and then they all jump in off the actual flower of the trees, and
Yeah,
then they actually fall on the floor, and Krishna steps upon them, and they feel more blessed to get the
yes,
lotus.
Prabhu.
Actually, Prabhus, I have a question.
Yes,
May
Prabhu.
I ask? May I
Yes.
ask? So, like, we know this, right? Like, Prabhupada appointed 11 Ritviks. However, I figured, I mean, I saw something that these 11 Ritviks, out of them, some of these Ritviks, even before they got appointed, they were, just a minute, Prabhu.
These are flowers. These are the flowers. Check out the flowers.
Yes, these are really nice flowers.
Yeah, it's a beautiful flower. I like this. They were there. Even the flowers are living and they were so fortunate to be there. Oh, fortunate are the flowers.
Yes, Prabhu.
This is amazing. Now,
Yes,
what about that garland? The garland was a fragrant garland that was going, but they saw this they saw the deer, and then they smelled the deer was looking at them like what, like with sympathy. The deer was looking at them with sympathy, like so shame. Yeah, it was so sad. The deer was looking at them. Ah, can't believe it. That is amazing. But the deer was feeling sorry for them. They were looking at the deer. I like this picture. It's very colorful.
yes,
This
Prabhu.
Gopi is blushing. She's so happy. His bride.
Even when Krishna told the gopis that go home, at one point they just
Yeah.
started to look at the
I
scenery.
imagine that you give up everything for Krishna. That's a test.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's the test, I think. Like, when you give up everything for Krishna and then Krishna tells you, okay, fine, you can go home now, what you doing here? And then what do you do then? Because you gave up everything, there's nowhere for you to go. So that's the test where you just stick by Krishna and you're like nowhere else to go.
Yes, Prabhu. And then they froze. They couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. They were like stuck, and they did with their feet. They did these lines. They were
Yeah.
drawing to the ground.
Yeah. Because they can't go back home. They can't go, they already the chastity, everything is gone. They
Yes,
can't go back. They finished, they give up.
yes, that's really confusing position. They're just standing there like.
So this Ras Leela is taken is in Nidivan. So nobody's allowed to go there in the night. It closes up because that's the Brajvasis believe that Radha Krishna still
Hmm.
have their pastime there. Sometimes there's flowers there. I don't know how it happens in the next morning, but
Hmm.
it's a beautiful. I like the flowers, the garlands. They're very beautifully. They're all different colors.
Yes, Prabhu.
The one gopi is blushing. The most of them are blushing and they're shy. You can see their faces are red. The gopi's cheeks.
Yes, Prabhu. And actually, they're really young. All of them are because they're. It's often hard to imagine because here we see everyone is adult. All the people with that, but they're like under 10 years old. Krishna is
Yeah,
8 years.
they're all children. Innocent. Very innocent.
Oh, this one gopi is almost completely,
I think that's when you have the best time in the innocence.
and this she's like golden.
Hmm.
Is this?
Yeah. So the gopis have different colors, different complexions.
Hmm.
I wonder how many. They said it was like millions of gopis. I don't know. From what I've learned over the years. It's like
Yes, Prabhu.
thousands, millions of them. Krishna was dancing with all of them at the same time.
Yes, here in this it was mentioned that in this dance there was
Yeah.
hundreds was mentioned in this one. Yeah, this bird has a nice position. 'Cause-
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a perfect position to hear that.
yes, and it's like perfect like body to observe this because he can fly,
Mm.
see all the angles, everything.
Yeah.
Properly see it.
Very fortunate bird.
And the deer looks like he was just walking there, and then he seen,
Yes.
and then he stops. I was like,
Yeah. He's just walking past and he saw, look, this gopi is looking. Oh, they must have acted out all these past times. The deer must be looking, what is this? In the middle of the night.
yes,
Great man. And then they felt sorry for them. The deer understood that they were looking for Krishna and they felt sorry with some sympathy for them.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, in the sky, it's the kunkuma color. That's very nice.
Yeah. So it's the evening, I think it was, yeah, well, night. It's the full moon.
Yeah.
Apparently, it lasted for a long time that night. I don't know what was the calculation, but it was a very long time. I don't know if it was a celestial year or how long it was. How about you tell us?
Yes, bro. Yes, the rising moon was really beautiful. It was said that it's reflecting from
Mm.
it's even in material. They went there.
There's a deer. There's a deer. There's a deer. Can you see it on the
Yes,
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Karti Prabhu, are you there? Did you ask the question?
Yeah, he said he'll be back in 2 minutes to ask a question. He get a phone call.
Oh yeah, he got a phone call. Yes, I will be really captivated just by all the flowers there.
Mm.
I would be like, what is this all colors all around?
Look at the lotuses on the floor. Mhm.
Okay, Haribol, we can chant six Astakam prayers at that time.
Oh, I have to just do something. I have to get the water pani.
Yes,
If you
Prabhu.
can excuse me for just for a few minutes, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, I can chant Haribol.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावादुजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनं नामकारि बहुधानि च सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पितानि अमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशमिह जनीननुरगा त्रिनादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि अयि नन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवां बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकनिचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविशायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्द विरहेण मे अश्लिष्य वा पादरतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातु लम्पतो मत्प्राणानातस्तु स एव नापरः
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Vivo. Okay, translation. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh my
Oh my
Lord.
Lord.
Oh,
Okay.
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Continue.
Okay. Can I do it, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Sri
Jai,
Gam ki jai,
Jai,
Harinam Sankirtan ki jai,
Jai,
Panchatattva ki jai,
Jai,
Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Sri
Jai,
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Mahaprabhu ki jai,
Jai.
Jagat Guru Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki
jai,
Jai.
Jai Gaura Premanande, Hari
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 Bol.
Bol.